What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crown Cinema Podcast. In this episode, we are breaking down
and literally just watched
The Revenant. God damn, that's a brutal movie.
I mean, you talk about just anytime you might feel a little bit bad for yourself. You know, you've been sick all week.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dude.
This movie just makes you feel so small as a man, I feel like.
So I watched probably maybe the first 45 minutes when I was sick, just laying in bed. I was like, let me just watch it before we did the podcast. Let's get into it. It was at night, so I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing Hugh Glass, DiCaprio, go through what he's going through in the first, 30, 40 minutes of the movie, I remember just being because I felt bad. So you can kind of relate to what he's feeling in a sense. If you feel bad, the things you're going through, I can't even imagine what that feels like. So it was just so impactful. I remember this watch, it didn't feel as much. But when I was watching it in bed, sick, dude, you could feel the pain that he's going through. Every moment, you're like, fuck, dude, that's brutal.
Yeah, just think about you, because you were sick with a cough, essentially. And so you're just... Meanwhile, this guy is fighting for every breath because he had his neck gashed out. Plus, he's dealing with infection. I mean, just put through the ringer.
Yes.
The absolute ringer that a man could go through. And you're just laying in bed with a cold. You're like... Man, I feel you, Hugh.
Yeah, right there with you, buddy.
Yeah. No, it's you know what's crazy to me is, so I think I've seen this movie. This was either my third or fourth watch, and I want to say it was my third because I remember seeing this in theaters, and I was about 15 when I saw it.
2015 it came out,
dude, and I remember I wanted to like it so bad because at that point, 2015, Leo's just on an insane run.
Yeah.
He's killing it. Everybody's looking forward to seeing what movie he's done.
He's also the last movie star in a sense. He's the only actor that's still if he's in a movie, you're going to go watch it only because DiCaprio's in it.
For Leo, yeah.
Nobody else is like that.
And it's not even for to see Leo. I genuinely, or at least for me, I could say that. It's because I know that Leo is just a damn good actor.
And because if Leo's going to sign onto a project, it's going to be worthwhile. Because if Leo's going to attach his name to it, he's going to give it his all, and he sees something in it that's going to be resonant with it's going to resonate with the audience. Yeah. So you just trust DiCaprio picking a movie. So if he's in it, you trust yourself to buy a ticket, or you trust him to buy a ticket to go watch it because you know it's going to be a good movie because DiCaprio's in it.
Yeah, and so that's exactly where my head was at this point. And I don't know. Maybe it's because it was just an insane character / movie compared to what else we've seen. I think at this point, Wolf of Wall Street, Inception, Shutter Island, which he can show his acting ability in those movies, and he does. This is just a whole nother level. And I was 15 years old, so I don't think I was just ready. I don't think I was mature enough to understand how crazy this movie was, because I remember not really liking it. Maybe I couldn't follow with it. I was so young.
My first time watching it too, I just thought it was really boring.
Which is so crazy because now, seeing it today, I cannot understand for the life of me how I couldn't have liked this movie.
I completely disagree with my 15 or 14-year-old self that saw it.
This movie is insane. So good on all aspects.
Yep.
Everybody brought their A game. You can tell that, and then just knowing what it took to get this movie made. So, for the life of me, I cannot understand why I didn't like this movie. I think I remember a lot of people didn't like this movie. All right, maybe just normal movie watchers just didn't appreciate this movie.
In a sense, you could say it's slow because it's basically you're watching one man survive in the elements the whole time. There's not really much happening in a sense. It's just him crawling around the floor trying to survive in pain. But that's because Leo's in it. That's what makes the movie good, because you believe the pain. That's why it's interesting to me.
I also feel like there's so much more action than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I feel like there's actually so much happening.
Yeah. I don't think it's slow. This time watching it, I don't think it's slow at all. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
I just remember I saw it in 2015 when it came out. Then I remember a few years ago, just, in college, I just decided to throw it on. And that's the second time I remember watching it. So I'm pretty sure this is the third. And I remember that second time, I was like, what the hell? This is a great movie.
Yeah.
What could I have possibly seen that was wrong with it the first time? So it's just, it's wild. This movie is incredible.
And I think all props this movie being great is to DiCaprio. Because like we were saying, it's a boring.
Well, and I think the director too.
That too, yes, 100%.
Yeah,
But really, without DiCaprio in it, the storytelling is great. The way they use the camera is great. But with DiCaprio in it, because the story is a very simple, could be interpreted as a boring story. If there's a bad performance, and if the actor can't show you the pain that Hugh Glass is going through, you wouldn't believe it, and it's not as intense of a watch. But because Leo brings this just pain and suffering to the performance, it makes it worth your time watching it. Because without it, you would be tapping out because you wouldn't be believing what's happening. But just the pure misery that you see on DiCaprio's face the whole movie is why it connects.
Yeah.
Without that, there's nothing. The movie would be so shitty.
Yeah. It's just wild. Well, first off, you say a boring story, and I know you don't mean like a literal boring story.
Right.
Because
I enjoy the movie. I'm saying that as...
But when you really think about it, this story is far from boring. I mean, a guy who is clearly, he's lost his wife to battle. He's been through hell. Now he watches his son get murdered after he's been mauled by a bear.
He's a prisoner in his own body.
Yeah, crossed 200 miles, gets through Indian attacks, having to go through rapid water. You know, it's freezing cold. And, you know, he saves an Indian that's been kidnapped along the way. Then he finds the guy and gets revenge. And then it's so far from boring.
Yeah.
And, you have a very evil character in Fitzgerald, played by Tom Hardy. This movie's nuts.
Nuts.
Yeah.
But so DiCaprio with his acting, I think there's like 3 things that he does that makes it so compelling. It's raw and ugly. Mm-hmm. It's not, usually you see DiCaprio, he's a suave, handsome fella charming everybody.
He can turn the charm on. He gets a chance to do that.
You always see him clean cut, looking good. Even when he's playing an ugly character, like in Django Unchained, when he's playing Calvin Candy, that's an ugly character, but he still plays it smooth and cool because he's a rich Southern, plantation owner.
Yeah.
But this movie, it's like you don't see him in any nice light. Like it's really rough when you see him watch his son get killed. Like that shot of him is just so ugly and raw. It's like it's not pleasant to watch at all. Every single scene with him, it's not a very beautiful face of his. He's like just showing you that pure agony. So like his ugliness and raw, being able to express that is what's great. Another one is his eyes, because he can't talk through half the movie because his windpipe got destroyed. And so it's his eyes and his like breathing as he goes, like that tells you so much information without him even able to talk or even move. Really, he can't move his body. So just through his eyes, he's able to express so much emotion, which is just another tell of a great actor. Mm-hmm. Whenever he's let's just pull up this scene.
Really, I think the best light that they ever get of him is when he finally makes it back to, was it Fort Henry or wherever? When he finally makes it back, and the captain or general of their unit, he's telling him like, yeah, he's gone. He escaped with the money. And DiCaprio finally has been fed, he's taken a bath, but he's still all beaten up. That's the best he ever looks in this movie. When he's got his shirt off and you see all the scars. And he's like, he took my boy. That's like the best you ever see him looking.
And it's still ugly.
Yeah.
It's still ugly.
What I'm saying. Yeah.
But so let's go to where is it? Whenever Tom Hardy tells him to blink if you want me to suffocate yourself. The way he's like just showing the pain through his breath and his voice, you can just see how brutal it is.
Mm-hmm. I can muzzle you if you like. Take away the suffering real quick and easy. Whenever it has to know that you give up, I do that.
How nice.
All you gotta do is blink if you want me to do that.
So compassionate.
Yeah.
So right here, as he looks over to Fitzgerald,
save your boy and
trying to tell him like, nope, I'm not gonna blink. I don't want you to blink. I think he even kind of mutters, no, but you can't understand it.
Yeah.
He slowly moves his eyes up to look up the sky to show even more. I'm not blinking.
You have to blink.
And then closes them to try to show that he's not blinking. So just in that little scene, you could just act it as you're just going to stare forward or stare at him and just not blink at all, which, that'll get the message across. But with him, like how he just is so controlled with his eye movements to just show how careful he is with his eyes. Like that shows you just what he's thinking in his head.
Well, part of me wonders, like rewatching it right here, is that when Fitzgerald is saying all of this to him, at first, Hugh Glass might be thinking like, okay, like he might actually be saying like blink and, I'll put you out of your misery. So Glass is just looking at him and he's like, no, I'm not going to blink. I want to live. And then he looks at the sky to really show, kind of like you said, like to really show that he's not going to blink. And then Fitzgerald asks again. And that's when Glass probably realizes like, oh, he's just trying to kill me. Like there was never any good intention here.
No.
So,
I mean, that's a worse question to ask somebody. Like, blink and
but he's so delirious, and they've already kind of been taking care of him, and he doesn't really know. I think he's probably a little out of his mind because he's just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he's still alive and he's only surrounded by like 3 people, yeah, I mean, he might have been thinking like, oh, okay, I just won't blink and we'll be good to go. And then he asks again, he's like, just blink. He's like, fuck.
It's like asking somebody, why don't you let out a breath if you want me to kill you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, let out a breath. For a whole minute, you're asking somebody to let out a breath if you want them to be killed. And then here, whenever, this is before that scene, but after the bear attack, whenever they're going to kill Hugh Glass, so they realize at this point that
they're trying to get him up the
mountain. He's causing way more trouble than is worth for the people on the crew. Like he really is endangering everybody.
Yeah.
And so the smart survival play is to kill him because there's no way he could survive this. You would assume he's going to die.
I'm sorry. We're living in a time where like you get a cut on your arm and you get infected, you might die. That's just medicine is not that prominent at this point. People are dying from way smaller injuries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just that kind of thing. So you see this, everybody is going to die when this happens.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
I mean, you fall off your horse and scratch your arm in this time period, people are going to start giving up on you.
Yeah. Well, the Indian later in the movie says your body is rotting. You're probably going to die.
Dude,
so
in the real story, he straight up just had maggots like in the holes of his back. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The true story is that he...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have. Yeah, I looked into it.
Okay, so here they're about to kill him.
Step back.
So his eyebrows here. It's such subtle movements of him because he can only do so much, but it's almost like he's crying for his son in this scene because you can see his eyebrows kind of like barely wrinkling. So the limited movement that he's able to use in this role, he uses it so well by just like subtly moving his eyebrows, just showing like he's weeping for his son. He wants to be there for his son, but he can't do anything about it.
He's the only one that's going to be able to protect him.
Yeah.
A Indian boy and a group of white men that are constantly being hunted by Indians.
And Fitzgerald was scalped by an Indian, so he has hatred for that kind of people because he has this direct trauma linked to them, and he kind of lets it out onto his son when he does kill him. It's like that little movement he has with his eyebrows, he's able to show that emotion. And there's another one whenever he is with his son after he crawls. Once Fitzgerald and Jim Bridger leave, he's laying on his son here. And those little trembles of his eyebrow, he can't let out any emotion because he's just in too much pain, but you can still see how much pain he's in with that subtle tremble of his eyebrow. So he just uses these such subtle actings and whatever he can use in this role to just relay the most emotion he possibly can. Just brilliant acting. And then the last thing he does with his acting is just showing the brutality of his pain. When he's getting attacked by that bear, dude,
those screams,
he's letting everything out. Like there's no holding back in that. And when you think about how it's filmed, it's just a fucking guy. It's probably just some guy in like a green blue suit or something just dragging him around.
Yeah, it was. It was a stunt man.
Yeah.
And he kind of dressed himself up as a bear. There wasn't much CGI done in this movie. That was kind of the whole point of making the movie, was to use as little of it as possible. So I think the bear and the arrows, I think that was pretty much that was some of the major CGI that you would see. Everything else is pretty much real.
Practical.
Yeah.
But so when he gets attacked by that bear,
Leo can give you a good scream. Like he can do everything.
he can.
You ask him to do anything on camera, and he is able to bring you 100%, like the best you could ask for.
He's a definition of range.
Yeah.
So just that scream, like we were saying, if it wasn't Leo's acting ability, that scene wouldn't be as impactful. But because of his ability to let out that much pain and to show you how ruthless this bear attack would feel, you're able to see how brutal this is, and it makes it compelling.
Yeah. Well, you know what else helps is that, well, first off, this movie was just a bitch and a half to make. I mean, oh my God, dude, just reading, I looked into it because I know it's all natural. That was all the director wanted to do to making this movie. Is he wanted to use nothing but natural light. And so what that entailed was, they did most of it in Canada.
Okay.
Let me just hold on because I kind of took some notes on it. So it started filming in September. I don't know what year, but started filming in September. Was supposed to be wrapped by that following March. They weren't done until August. And then, so most of it was done in Canada, but they ended up, Canada, for some reason at that time, was just not getting enough snow.
And that's supposed to be the snowiest part. They picked the snowiest part of the United States or the North America to film.
Yeah, so they did Canada for a lot of it, and then they realized like, oh, we're not going to be able to get the most that we want. So then they go to Argentina, which is just the southern tip. It's completely from North Pole to South Pole. So there's that. But really, like, the main thing about this movie that kind of, I think, emphasizes especially this scene, or really all of them, because like you get the best acting out of all these people, is that they had an hour and a half of each day of shooting. I think he chose like 4:30 as the time. So all day they're just rehearsing whatever shot they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then in that hour and a half
once those lights set and ready to go.
Yeah. And so as an actor, you're just like, fuck, like, I don't want to be the reason that we have to reshoot this tomorrow and you got to live through another cold day.
Yeah.
You're just, I mean, it's brutal out there. I mean, Leo and Tom Hardy, I saw some interviews. I mean, they were just laughing at how ridiculously hard this movie was to make.
It probably wasn't even much acting. They probably were just miserable.
Yeah. Which was what the director said. And I saw a lot of crew member, like a lot of people got fired on this movie. A lot of people quit on this movie.
Because it was just too brutal?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was going for so long. And a lot of people were telling the director, which we need to, what's the director's name?
Alejandro, let's not guess here. Yeah. Alejandro González Iñárritu. Hold on. Let me just, before we just mistakenly say the name the entire episode like we do sometimes.
Yeah.
Alejandro G. Iñárritu.
Iñárritu.
All right, Alejandro Iñárritu.
A lot of people were getting really mad at him. They're just like, dude, forget the natural light BS. Let's just use some CGI for some of this stuff. And he essentially said, no, the point of this movie is that we are all creating art and we are creating an art piece about survival. And that's all it is. Obviously it's man versus man, but it's a lot of man versus nature too.
Yes.
And so he refused to take the easy route.
That's kind of a beautiful thing though, because to tell a story right and to really give you the mood of how hard it is to survive out in this wilderness, you kind of have the whole crew go through that experience. And also it's kind of like honorable to tell this man's story, even though it's not 100% truthful. I know there's little liberties taken, which happens in any movie, but to honor this man and his story and how brutal his survival was is like having all the crew members and everybody going through the set live that experience a little bit.
Yeah.
They probably have warm trailers and stuff they're sleeping in. They got campfires and shit. They got heaters and stuff like that probably. But, during shooting and all that stuff, it's brutally cold to get everybody in the vibe. So you just see that raw ruthlessness of the wilderness. You feel it through the movie.
Well, and even back to your point about Leo, he ended up, he stepped up big time. So the scene where he crawls to the Indian that's eating the buffalo, the buffalo liver.
Yeah. Liver King.
Yeah. Leo actually ate a real buffalo liver.
So was that puke he had? Was that real?
That was a real reaction of him taking a bite of buffalo liver. And he was just talking about at this point in shooting the movie, because they used a lot of Native American actors in this movie in the casting. And so Leo was, talking to them, trying to get a feel for like what, and a lot of them still live kind of that lifestyle. So the Indian in that scene the Native American, he was eating that liver for real because he does it every day.
Oh,
like
shit.
he actually just eats liver all the time.
Oh.
So Leo was
the
just like,
healthiest organ in an animal.
yeah. And so Leo was just like, wow, that's incredible. Leading up to that shot, Leo saw what he was actually going to eat, you know, pretty much the prop food.
Yeah.
And he said by the time it got to the day of shooting, he looked at the prop food and was like, it's just so clearly not real.
Damn.
And he was just so submersed in the role that he just told the director, he was like, I'm going to eat the real thing. And guess what? It looked great because you get the real shot of him taking a bite and just
Yeah.
throwing up. That's real. And so, yeah. But I feel like when you see your star actor doing that as a crew member, you're probably going to be thinking, okay, like
Leading by example.
yeah, good leader. So yeah, I mean, just an insane movie to make. I mean, you think about most sets. How long does it really take on average to wrap up a movie? 3 months?
I think it goes
Sooner
like
than
3 to
that?
6 months. How long?
3 to
Let's
6?
see.
Well, regardless, the conditions of this movie, on top of the fact that it took them almost a year.
So the average movie takes about 106 days to film, but this can widely
So
vary.
a little over like 3 months.
Yeah.
This took almost a year, and they are in brutally cold conditions every day.
Fuck.
You think about any other film set, you're out there for a little over 3 months, but you're relatively comfortable. You have a bed. I mean, just in comparison to this movie, you have
Yeah.
a bed to sleep on.
Right.
You have food. You're not freezing cold. You're not actually trying to survive
Yeah.
every day. So, yeah, just an insane. But it shows. Leah, you eat a real buffalo liver, you win an Oscar.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You survive in the cold for a year,
Dude, can you imagine?
crawling on the floor. I mean,
Can you imagine if he hadn't gotten the Oscar for this?
bro, he deserves it, bro. He deserves it.
He deserved it well before this movie.
100%.
But oh my God, if he hadn't gotten it for this one, I wouldn't have blamed him if he had just said, okay, I'm done. I retire. I quit.
Yeah.
Fuck all of y'all.
Yeah. It's crazy it took him that long, but this role, he put his fucking heart
That makes
into
sense.
it. And even because a lot of the scenes when he's acting, he has to dress for the part. And they didn't really have that warm of clothes. Like, sure, the bear skin that he wears is warm. It's thick, sorry, so it would be
Yeah.
warm, but it doesn't cover his entire body. There's a lot of holes. The wind can go through it. He's wearing like 1 or 2 layers of like not that thick of clothing.
You are cold.
You know how
Brother.
cold it is for
Yeah.
him to be acting in these scenes. Like, and plus, he has to get in the water. The water is
Yeah.
we're in the wintertime. That water's probably 40 degrees or colder.
Yeah.
So jumping in those ice baths were brutal. Having to do like maybe 1 or 2 takes of him doing that shit. I mean, fuck, dude. Cold water,
And this
freezing,
is-
you got to get out.
This is Leonardo DiCaprio we're talking about. This guy,
A-list millionaire.
No offense to the man. He earned the movie star status. I'm not taking anything away from him, but Jesus Christ, I mean, this guy is not used to getting his hands dirty like this.
No. That's why he's still dating 26-year-olds, because he's just buying back his suffering from the Revenant shoot.
That's probably his defense. He's like, yeah, I mean, go fuck yourself. I did the Revenant.
yeah.
I was freezing cold in Canada and Argentina for almost a year. And that was no BS.
I couldn't imagine. Going back to this
Truly.
bear scene, it's obviously brutal because you see DiCaprio's pain that he's going through. You see his acting ability in it, so it's clearly brutal. And so, but there's a moment in the movie that makes it 10 times more brutal, and it's props to the storytelling and props to DiCaprio. So after we hear this, brutal scream of him getting attacked, that throw.
That's a card.
So after all the brutality, you hear DiCaprio screaming. There's a break in the bear fight where the bear stops. And he kind of goes back to his cubs because it gets distracted. So the bear runs away. DiCaprio's laying on the ground. Miserable. You hear him.
Yeah, I mean, he just got attacked by a car, essentially.
Yeah. 600-pound beast of an animal.
Yeah.
So he's been beat up, obviously scraped, bitten, fucked up. So the pain he shows as he moves.
I like the sound of the bugs buzzing. You already tell. They're just like, oh, we smell something bad coming.
So his face wincing there when he's crawling around. How he's barely able to move. So you know that the bear attack took him out and was brutal and painful. And then the bear comes back.
I do remember this getting me the first time I saw it. Because this bear scene was obviously so hyped up.
Yeah. So it's going from brutal bear attack to now you see the aftermath of it. So now you know the true pain of what just happened. So the audience can understand a little bit like, damn, that would be brutal. Watch him crawl around, wince to the ground. You see how brutal that would be. And then when the bear comes back and gets him even worse.
Round 2, yeah.
You're like, oh. So
Dude,
like,
and the fact, that sound that you hear just like,
so it's like, because if that all happened in one take, it's like, damn, that sucks. That was painful. Watching him go, it sucks. But seeing it happen and then you see how painful it was and then seeing the bear come back and do even worse damage, now you're just like, fuck. You know, it makes it so much worse. So just taking that little break to let you realize what happened, to then have the bear come back and do even more damage.
Yeah, see,
makes it so much harder.
Yeah, well, especially at the time of when this movie came out, that was a big part of the trailer. You know, that was the hype, was this bear scene.
I mean, that's kind of the turning point of the movie. That's like what gets the story going.
But it's also, it's pretty exciting to see just on camera. A lot of people were curious to see what Leo would look like getting destroyed by a bear.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be? But the fact that it just went on for longer, because I remember seeing it in theaters thinking that first time, I was like, oh, damn, like that was good. But then he goes back for that round 2 and it's like, oh my God, it's not over.
Yeah.
It was just kind of that shock of like, damn, how long is this bear just going to destroy Leo?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brutal scene.
Brutal scene. But, I mean, brilliantly done. And Leo wins.
Yep.
Leo beat the bear.
Bro, that's like the scariest thing to happen to you if you're in the wilderness is seeing a bear and having a bear charge at you. Like that's got to be the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
I think Rogan was talking on his podcast about one of his buddies who encountered a bear who charged at them. Mm-hmm. And he said the fear that they had in that moment, just realizing how small you are and how you have zero chance against a bear if it comes to get to you. I wish I could find the video. Rogan's talking about this too. Like he said he saw a video of either a grizzly bear or a black bear or something, brown bear. And with one swipe of its paw, broke an elk's back in half. Didn't split it apart clearly in 2 pieces, but one swipe of the thing just cracked the elk's back and it fell down.
Yeah.
An elk is stronger than a horse probably. Mm-hmm. It's a giant animal. And so you can ride a horse, you can mount a bunch of shit on a horse, but just one, that's how much power a bear has. One swipe of its paw on a back of a elk and just snap its back. So think about the power of that animal. So imagine seeing.
Well, and how fast does a grizzly bear run?
They're pretty fast. I think it's like 30 miles an hour.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then what I'm saying is that you got about
30 miles an hour bear runs.
Yeah, you got a little over 800 pounds, so almost a ton coming at you at about, let's say in this scene specifically, it probably got up to like 25 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That hits you, that's like getting hit by a car essentially. You get hit by a car, you're in the hospital.
Yep.
Most times.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. We are very small.
Yeah.
You think about like trying to stop a car.
Yeah,
stop a car. That bear's running at you, like all these little scenarios in your mind out the window.
Trying to stop a small car with claws and teeth.
And it's in survival mode. Not even worse than that. It's up another level.
Yeah,
it's protective mom mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're dealing with like 2,000 pounds.
And it's just funny in that scene too, because if you know anything about a bear, how they are super protective with their cubs.
Yeah.
When DiCaprio turns and he hears something and he's like, oh, sweet, I got some food.
Yeah.
And then you see 2 cubs. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then right behind you is a fucking grizzly bear wiping his feet on the ground, ready to charge at you.
I mean, dude, he knew as soon as he saw those 2 little baby bears that he was about to be probably dead.
And the thing is, too, there's really nothing you can do. You can try to scare it, but if it's in protective mode, I'm not sure that's going to work.
Because I've seen videos of, like, I saw this one video of these guys that were kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where they would have been, but they were by a river, some kind of beach, and 2 bears kind of thought about charging at him, and the guys did the like, screamed out, and the bears went the other way. Not in protective mode, like what you're talking about,
Yep.
Like those were just two bears that saw two other humans and might have just been curious, and they were just seeing like, what is that?
Yeah.
You do not beat the bear when it's in protective mommy mode.
No, and so if you can't run away from it, it'll chase you down.
It's fast.
You can't
climb.
You can't climb a tree because they can climb a tree way better than you can. Like they can scale a tree like Spider-Man. So you can't climb a tree to escape. You can maybe hide, but they have great sense of smell, so they can get you. So like, if you're
Some
close proximity to a bear
bullshit,
with a mama bear, you are fucked.
Yeah,
dude.
that's some bullshit.
Worst case scenario.
And think about it. Leo had 2 guns and a
Knife.
yeah, like a pretty borderline machete. Not a machete, but it's not like just your regular pocket knife.
Yeah.
Like he had like a pretty
Hunting knife, giant. Yeah.
and that bear still did that to him.
Yeah, I mean,
and the worst part is before the second round when Leo gets that pistol on him and he gets it so close, and if he hits him between the eyes, that bear's done. You know? But he just barely misses.
I mean, you shoot with a musket,
Yeah.
so you only got that much aim.
but you're just
that ball
so
can go
on
wherever
top
it
of the
wants
fact
to.
that he can probably even lift his arm.
Yeah, I mean, you see him whenever he's so in so much pain in that scene. Whenever he does finally get to his rifle and like points it at the direction of the bear in case it comes again, he like picks it up, moves it, and then has to rest. He's like, fuck, that was so hard.
Yeah.
And then gets ready to shoot it again once it comes back at him.
Yeah. Did you look into the real story of Hugh Grant?
Hugh Glass.
Hugh Glass, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant, yeah.
No.
It's pretty interesting. I'll break it down pretty quick because this is loosely based on Hugh Glass.
I know there was he
no.
never had an Indian son. Like Fitzgerald never killed a son. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah, but it's still. his story's crazy. But essentially, he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Shout out Dwight
Hugh
Schrute.
Glass. I did not even know that Scranton was actually a real place.
You didn't?
I really didn't.
It is.
And okay, so then he worked as a man at sea until his ship was boarded by an infamous pirate known as John Lafitte. He was given the option to either die or be a pirate. So he chose to live. And he was a pirate for like 2 years, I think. Yeah, 2 years. Jumped off the boat finally and escaped. That he found himself in Texas.
He probably jumped off the boat once he found out all the pirates were having gay sex.
Maybe.
He's like, what the fuck is this?
This
Sign up
sucks.
for this? Yeah.
So he found himself in Texas, went through Indian territory, cannibal Indians, and without a map, made his way all the way to Kansas. And then he was caught by Pawnee Indians. Shout out to Leslie Knope.
Yep.
Now we got Michael Scott and Leslie Knope.
2 of the best office type sitcoms.
That's right. Dude, he escapes, he gets captured by the Pawnee Indians with another guy that he escaped with from the pirate ship. They hang both of them upside down, and Hugh Glass has to watch as they stick pine needles into this guy's skin, which, they have it. It's not like fun. He's like getting pierced.
Tortured.
Yeah, it's straight torture. Then they burn him alive and make Hugh watch the whole thing. Then he's next. Hugh somehow negotiates his way out of it by showing that he has like this red paint that they can use as war paint. And they love it. They love it so much.
Oh my God.
That they not only let him live, but they let him into their tribe. So he's now a Pawnee Indian. He gets a wife. And he's part of the tribe for a couple years, and I don't know if he lost the wife or if he escaped or if he just moved on. Like, I have no idea. But yeah, he did not have a kid. Yeah, so then he decides to become a fur trapper, joins the mountain men, hears about this job, and now we're getting into more of the Revenant.
Yeah.
Hears about this job along the River Missouri, and he goes, it's like 100 of them. In the movie, I think it's like 40 something.
Yeah, they had because they said 33 of their men were killed.
Yeah.
So
I think it was like 47 in the movie. But in this, it was like 100. They meet the Ree Indians, which are the ones that we see in this movie. Ree Indians just wreck them, destroy them, essentially have no crew. And Hugh survived with 13 others. So when the mountain men got destroyed by the Ree Indians, instead of like just running away and just trying to survive, they end up going back to an Indian village Indian village and setting it on fire, which killed a bunch of women and children. So now they're now they're just really pissed at the white men.
Yeah.
So they go hunt them. Hugh survived with 13 others. They go to Yellowstone. That's where the bear attack happens.
Okay.
All of that is pretty much real, except for the only thing that's not real is the son. Okay. And so Hugh's revenge in real life is just that they really did just leave him. Like, he wasn't mad about his son being killed. He was just mad like that they left him in general.
For dead.
Yeah. So he crawls over 200 miles, makes it back to Fort Henry, I think. Oh, the scene where Hugh saw the Indian with the buffalo, like he saw the wolves take down the buffalo.
Yep.
In real life, apparently, he was crawling, sees the wolves eating on the carcass of a dead buffalo, and he, crawling, still alive, barely, scares wolves away. A pack of wolves, a man that is barely alive, decides to scare wolves away.
That's some balls because
That's
wolves are
crazy.
ruthless. Wolves are ruthless.
Like, I don't even know how that works, because I assume the wolves would see him and be like, holy shit, like,
More
free
food.
food. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So he does that, survives, gets a little bit stronger.
Maybe he had his gun or something. Maybe he shot at him.
Yeah, maybe. Dude, but I'll just skip ahead. But he finds Fitzgerald. It took him like 6 months. He had to travel close to 1,000 miles. Finds Fitzgerald, who has now joined the army. And his captain of his regime tells Glass, like, no, you can't kill him. And that's it. He never actually gets his revenge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he gets paid off like $300 in compensation.
Probably pretty fat back then.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you think Fitzgerald, I think gets $300, and he's talking about, I'm just going to go buy a plot of land in Texas and just, live in the warmth.
He expected more though because he stole all that money.
Yeah.
So he needed more to do that.
Yeah.
What year is this in? Do you know?
1870 something, I want to say.
So it's $7,000. $7,000, $274 is what $300 was worth in 1870. So
Damn.
yeah, you definitely need some more money.
Yeah. What the hell? Yeah, I'm really surprised by that. The way Fitzgerald was talking, he was like, $300. Well, yeah, I guess he was expecting some more.
Well, he said, at least I'll get $300. Like, I need something. Like
Yeah.
$700, sure. Or $7,000. Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good amount of money.
Yeah.
You can't live off of it for that long, but
Yeah.
he stole the rest of the money, so he has
Mhm.
enough now to move to Texas.
Yeah. But yeah, Hugh found Fitzgerald in real life. Captain said you can't kill him. So Hugh told Fitzgerald, you better stay in the army for the rest of your life, because if you ever leave, I'm going to kill you.
And did he?
No. Hugh was killed by Indians.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I mean, he kept going back. You can't just actually survive that many times.
That's the thing. You can make friends with one tribe, but there's also
Yeah.
many other tribes that do not respect the negotiation you had with.
You just see it in this movie so much. I mean, they don't even think to ask about what a white man is doing out by himself who's like been crawling around. They just immediately bows and arrows just start shooting at him.
I mean, they probably assume that, oh, we killed your whole tribe. Here's the last strangler. Let's get him done. Let's wipe this whole tribe out.
I guess so. But yeah. Nah, they don't really have time for interviewing.
No, they don't give a fuck. I mean, I read this. I didn't finish it, but I'm almost done with this book on the Comanches. And just hearing what they do, I mean, the Comanches were ruthless. I mean, some of these Indian tribes were insane.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them earned that savage term that they get because they were just so ruthless to the white man
Yeah.
that was coming and stealing their land, taking all their shit. So, I mean,
Upon knowing that, you can kind of understand where Fitzgerald is coming from
that's kind of a thing. It's
with
like
his hatred.
Yeah, like Fitzgerald is obviously a bad man. He's immoral, but he's also doing whatever he needs to do to survive. It's not really personal to him. He hates the son of Hugh Glass, but he doesn't hate Hugh Glass. He's just trying to survive and get his money to leave and have a better life for himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying, you can see where he's coming from, but I definitely disagree with his character, especially because I'm just thinking about Fitzgerald like as a character, as a person. He probably didn't really look much into the decisions that he made in life. He was just like, oh, that's That's good money. Like, I'll do that. Then he finds out, oh, the reason they're paying so well is because this is a shit job.
Yeah.
People die.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad things. So
Indians are trying to capture us.
I'm sure he's just been miserable his entire life. You know, everything that's happened to him is just like, God, this sucks. Like, life. I ain't got no life.
Yeah. All I got is living.
Yeah. And so, and I think the line that I wrote down that kind of shows that is, when he's telling Bridges about God as a squirrel.
Yeah.
It kind of just I took it as Fitzgerald doesn't see situations the same as like I think a normal person would. Like Fitzgerald doesn't see, okay, this is something that's happened to me and I can either choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. Fitzgerald sees it as, okay, this is an opportunity that God has given me. And so now with Hugh Glass being essentially dead and he's been offered to just stay behind for a day or two to watch a dying man die and he gets paid a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, oh, God is doing that for me. God wants me to just watch this man die who is going to die.
Yeah.
And so Fitzgerald he's convinced himself that Hugh is going to die. So it's not really wrong to kill him.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and so he doesn't look at it as, oh, I need to stay here. And
He's just
help
speeding
him
up the
survive.
process.
Yeah. And so that's like, yeah, that's just how he views everything. He doesn't see like, oh, this is wrong or this is right. He was like, no, God wants me to do this.
Yeah.
Like, why else would I be presented with this opportunity?
But it's interesting because kind of obviously Hugh Glass and Fitzgerald have differing beliefs. They're complete opposites of each other. Hugh Glass is a man who is gifted things by God. Like God actually gives him things, like nature and everything. He's always gifted things. You see that throughout the entire movie. He's even in the opening scene is really time you see like the true nature of the two characters and their beliefs, because in the opening scene, Hugh Glass gets attacked by an Indian and he gets pinned on the ground and the Indian's trying to kill him. And the only way he survives is because he was given the gift of somebody killing him for him and saving him. He was saved by somebody else outside of his own means. But Fitzgerald, he gets in a similar situation where he gets attacked, but Fitzgerald is able to get himself out of it himself.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a do-it-yourself. I'm going to take control of the situation myself. I'm not going to rely on anything else. But Hugh Glass kind of always is relying and grateful for nature.
Yeah.
And you obviously see Hugh Glass's gratefulness whenever it's like a complete contrast. You see, there's a scene where you see Glass grateful for nature whenever he's with the Indian and they're in the snow. And they're laughing about the snow on their tongues. They're just they're enjoying the nature. Like whatever their situation is, they're just going to be grateful for it and be happy that there's snow. They're going to enjoy the little enjoyment they can find in life. And the scene before that, let me just see if I can find what it was. Okay, yeah. So the opposite is Fitzgerald, who the scene before Hugh Glass is shown with nature, you see Fitzgerald getting the money for the job he did. So like he's taking from the world. He takes Jim Bridger's money.
Mm-hmm.
And then later he steals all the money. And so Hugh Glass is grateful for nature. He accepts things throughout the entire movie. He's like gifted things. The Indian saves him, but Fitzgerald's always taking. He takes him the land. Like even in the opening scene, you see Hugh Glass hunting that elk. Hugh Glass is hunting the elk and takes the elk's life, but to give it to the crew and to help survive. But Fitzgerald, whenever they're all skinning all the fur and pelts that they got, he's just talking about like, make sure you pack them up. He's just wanting to take from nature as opposed to giving it and like respecting it. So that's their opposite. Fitzgerald takes all the time and Hugh Glass is given and accepts. So that's kind of like a cool, because they're obviously different spiritually, because the ending of the movie is very clearly that, because going with Fitzgerald being a taker, he's always taking things, taking money, taking lives, killing people.
Even takes their captain's scalp.
Yep.
Which is just a dick move for no reason. That didn't benefit anybody.
Yeah. And so,
actually, maybe the reason he did that was to like maybe if anybody else had found the body, they would assume that an Indian did it.
Yep. Oh, good point. That is probably why he did it.
Yeah. But to me, watching it, I was like, what an asshole.
Yeah, that is definitely why I did it, to try to frame it as not him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, Hugh Glass doesn't take Fitzgerald's life. He says revenge is in God's hands, which is what the Indian told him when the Indian said he lost his family to the Sioux tribe. I think that's how you say it. He says, he's like, my heart is bleeding. but revenge is in God's hands.
Yeah, he wasn't seeking revenge like Hugh was. He was just trying to find more of his people.
Yep.
To just kind of get back to the best life he could get at that point.
Yeah, he trusts the circle of nature will come back and
And
reward him.
Hugh, and Hugh didn't understand that until Fitzgerald finally said, "I hope you enjoy this because it's not going to bring back your boy." And in that moment, Hugh obviously he's about to kill him.
Yep.
And he totally has the power to. And he hears that and he's like, "You're right. Like once I do this, I'm not going to be satisfied."
Yep. So he says revenge is in God's hands,
On
and
top
he
of
gets killed way worse than Hugh Glass would have killed him.
Yeah. On top of it, I was going to say, he might have also known, like, dude, I know you're terrified of the Indians because of the scalping. Because Fitzgerald, he's telling the story to Bridges about this, being scalped, and he kind of like freaks out because Bridges is scraping that canteen.
Yeah, the symbol on the canteen.
Yeah. And so Hugh probably heard that and was like, "Oh, I know he's terrified to die at these hands."
Yeah, and I kind of think Fitzgerald's God is money and what he can take from the world. Like that's kind of what his God is. Because with the squirrel thing, he saw God and he took what he could have from God.
Yeah.
He took the squirrel so he could eat it because it was a meaty and juicy one.
Yeah. Well,
So-
he might have made a little bit of money too with the
the
squirrel
pelt,
tail.
yeah. And like, there's even a shot here in the scene when he does get paid by the captain. They lie to him about what happened to Hugh Glass whenever he goes upstairs. So once they tell the story and he believes him, the captain goes upstairs to go grab their money.
The agreed arrangement did not change.
You don't follow him upstairs.
Fortunately for me, it did not. No.
So you see Fitzgerald below. It's not like the air quote God.
Making sure he doesn't fuck this up.
Yeah. So look, there's that's like almost a cross-looking thing here. And it's panning up, showing like Fitzgerald's what he can take. He's like looking up to where the money is, and like
I do like that, yeah, because he's looking up at a cross.
the sun's coming in. It's like that's his view of God, is like he's getting, he's taking and receiving the money that he's gonna get.
For sure.
But Hugh Glass never takes. He's always given and is grateful for it.
Shout out to Tom Hardy, man. My God.
Great actor too. He has a great performance in this movie too.
I remember watching this movie, and I don't know if I could remember if I knew who Tom Hardy was really at that point in my life.
Batman came out, didn't it?
Yeah, but I didn't even know that was Tom Hardy.
Okay.
I didn't keep up with actors, I feel like, except for a Leo or a Brad Pitt where it's just so obvious.
Yeah.
But Tom Hardy is Bane, he's bald, he's got the mask on. This, no hair, fat beard, has no accent whatsoever.
You can't even understand what the fuck he says.
Yeah,
half the
I don't
time.
even know how Tom Hardy just gets lost in every role. Like
Yeah.
he's almost unrecognizable in everything that I've seen him in, except when he's playing a more clean cut. I honestly, we were a third of the way through this movie, and I have made the decision I'm gonna restart the Peaky Blinders because I never finished it.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, and there's a movie coming out, so I'm gonna watch the Peaky Blinders. So shout out to Tom Hardy.
He brought you back.
He brought me back.
With that, and it's what's cool, kind of going back to their beliefs and like the symbolism of, taking from the world or being given in the circle of life and nature. That symbol that Jim Bridger writes in the thing, that's a symbol that means it's like the circle of life or eternity is kind of what the symbol means in like throughout history and time. And so that canteen comes back,
Making it back, yeah.
It comes back to him and he looks at it and he is freaked out knowing that that's his, knowing whose canteen that is.
Yeah.
So he knows that Hugh Glass is on his way to come get him. And it's like that symbol is that, eternity and like the nature of how the world turns and everything kind of comes back. And so it comes back to him and he knows that Hugh Glass is going to take his revenge on him, but Hugh Glass doesn't take his revenge on him.
Love that. I love that decision.
He lets God take over.
Yeah, I love that decision of, because they definitely could have. It seemed like Hugh was going to let Bridges just die or be a prisoner. When he first sees him getting captured, getting beat up by everybody.
Yeah.
When he re-enters the camp. But I love the decision that he's been through so much pain, so much suffering. It would make sense for his character at this point to not care about what happens to anybody else.
Right.
But he's like, hey, no, like that boy is innocent. He had no idea what was happening.
He also is willing to stay with them for no money. So he has no reason to kill.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, especially I think about that. He didn't take the money.
Didn't take the money off. He also wasn't even expecting money in the situation. He just came to help. Fitzgerald probably had him coming in to help prove the story correct.
Yeah.
And but he was never promised money. He said he was going to give up his money to pay Fitzgerald so he could stay and help. He's like, I'll give up my money. I don't care. I'm going to stay with him.
Gotcha.
So like, there's really no motivation for Jim Bridger to
lie
or to kill Hugh Glass. He gains nothing.
Yeah.
But maybe survival. But even then, it's like, why'd you stay if you wanted to survive? So
if you cared so much about like getting back.
Yeah. So I think probably Hugh Glass reflected once he got back and was healed a little bit, thinking about what happened to Jim Bridger. He's like, that kid's not innocent. That kid's not guilty. He's innocent.
Yeah. Brilliant movie.
Really is. What's really brilliant is there's a lot of, obviously they show beautiful shots of nature throughout the entire movie. And a lot of these shots, I don't know what a lot of them mean, but a few of them seem to tell a story of what these characters are thinking just by what nature is saying. So one of them is whenever Hugh Glass is buried alive by Fitzgerald. All right, so obviously Hugh Glass gets buried alive and he's in this frozen tundra. And there's a scene that cuts to show what happens to Fitzgerald and Jim Bridger. But as it comes back to Hugh Glass's scene, it shows this shot of the little bit of life in the snow. So I think that's reflecting to Hugh Glass, he has a little bit of life left in this frozen tundra, but people can survive. Clearly, these little plants can survive in this frozen tundra. But then it cuts to the next shot of these mountains and trees. This just powerful shot of just showing how ruthless nature is and how much he has to overcome to do this. So it's like there's a little bit of life left, but there's this still giant force of nature you have to come up against in battle to survive.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Hugh Glass, who's willing to make the journey as he steps up, and you see that canteen with that, nature symbol there as he comes up. So like those two shots show you, there's a little bit of life left in Hugh Glass, but he has this huge this huge problem to overcome.
Yeah.
This huge adversity to overcome.
Well, and they had it's kind of going on the second shot that you're talking about. They had shown it before after the bear attack, and it's Hugh and his son saying like, I miss mom so much, and it's flashing back to showing what happened to them. Their village was attacked by some white soldiers.
Yep. The fucking whiteys, man.
And he's talking about, remember what mom used to say, when the wind's blowing really hard and you look at a tree branch and you would swear that the tree's about to fall. But once you actually look at the trunk, you see that it's not going to move. It's very stable. And so when Hugh watches Fitzgerald kill his son Hawk, it immediately cuts to just a bunch of trees blowing super, super hard. And it's just kind of like reiterating, like, not only is it one tree that's not moving, it's like a whole forest. And it's showing like you just killed Hugh's son and he ain't shaking at all. Like he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, like the trunk and the roots are like your beliefs of like, can you survive? Because that's a big thing is them talking about if you can still breathe, you can still fight.
Right.
So fight through it and survive.
Yeah.
Which is what happens a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
Another one is whenever Glass is resting on his son, when he crawls over to him, as he's resting on his son who's dead and he's thinking about him, it cuts to this beautiful shot of like the sun coming out of the clouds, and it's almost like a heavenly shot. So you can know he's thinking about his son going into the afterlife to meet his wife and thinking about heaven and where his son might be. So there's some storytelling of what's happening in his head through the nature. Because, it always shows these things right before you go to Hugh Glass. And so you see that Hugh Glass is very connected to nature and what it is. He's a part of the land.
Yeah.
And there's some symbolism whenever he's having that dream and there's that broken down church that he's walking into. And it's in the wilderness. It's a symbol of who Hugh Glass is. Because Hugh Glass is a man who doesn't belong in the wilderness. He's not an Indian, but he still is there and a part of it. So like that broken down church doesn't belong where it is, yet it's still there and there's trees growing in it. So now it just became a part of the landscape. So Hugh Glass is the same kind of way. And you even see in that scene, his son, who is a part of the land, he is Indian. He's from this, he's half a part of the world, but he's definitely more connected to the Indian side. And so he comes in and embraces his dad, kind of letting him know like, hey, you do belong here. And you see him hugging a tree, which is another sign of him, being connected to nature more so. And then the last one I have is whenever Fitzgerald says that he shot and ate that squirrel. That was God.
I shot and ate that son of a bitch.
So he's basically denouncing God. And then it cuts to this next shot that shows the landscape. But in this scene, there's way more sky than there is earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's almost telling you that there's way more heaven, there's way more God than there is earth. So whatever you think that your beliefs are true, but look how little there is in that frame. It's like less than a third of the frame.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, again, showing you that the truth through nature, that what Fitzgerald said isn't true, because look at the world. There's way more. You just think of the sky. If the sky was God, there's way more God than there is earth, which is just man.
Yeah, I like that.
So there's so many of these visual storytellings, but just showing nature and like letting you know the story and the themes of what these characters are thinking or what the beliefs are just through nature. So it's, again, connects to that theme of nature throughout the whole movie, of these guys in real life on set going through the brutality of nature. It just has Hugh Glass did in real life. And the story here, it's all about connecting to nature and what are you given from the world? How can you deal with nature? Are you going to take from it, or are you going to be grateful for what it gives you?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Truly is a beautiful movie. And I love, what's so cool to me too is just how they use a lot of these long shots and how they shoot wide. There's really not much close up. I think they use pretty wide focal lengths. It's never a zoom lens that's tight and close. It's always pretty wide, because that just engulfs you in the realism of what this is and like how brutal it is. And it just puts you in those, it puts you in the shoes of the characters.
I was thinking this while we were watching it, going on what you're saying. Dude, when you're watching it, and we're all cozy, we're sitting reclined in our couch.
I don't know, it's pretty cold in that living room.
Yeah, it was a little chilly.
It's like 62 on the thermometer.
But dude, it does such a good job of showing you how brutal these conditions are, that in the one scene where Hugh has to cut open a horse to go sleep in it, like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, dude, he gets on that horse, and I just remember thinking, that actually looks pretty cozy.
Dude, it'd be so warm. That's his first warmth he got to feel.
Right? And so you've just been watching this character go through hell. Sometimes he gets a little bit of heat laying next to a fire, but this is really his first time feeling true warmth and like getting a good night's sleep. And it's inside of a dead horse that he just jumped off a mountain with.
See, it's another sign of him being given something by nature. He jumps off a cliff, but is saved by a tree. That was there for him, and he was gifted that. And that the horse that died, he's had a gift and used it. He didn't take the horse's life to get into it. The horse was already dead, so he just used what was given to him to get into it.
Yeah.
If it was Fitzgerald, he would have killed his horse and then probably climbed in if he was in that same situation. But that's the difference.
Just thinking, just the making of this movie and how brutal it was. It really did work out, because when you're watching this movie and you can really see how tough these conditions are, as an audience member, you can't help but just feel a little bit of immersed into the pain that they're feeling. Everybody knows what it feels like to be brutally cold.
Yeah.
And so once you've just been watching this character crawl through hell, a freezing hell, and then his only way is to get a good night's sleep is to live in a dead horse, you're just like, wow, it honestly looks kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's like how...
It's a heated blanket.
That's how, it's how messed up this movie gets.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that actually looks so nice.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah.
I want to get in that dead horse with you.
So, yeah, it's a very well done movie. I think it's not successful unless they do it the way that they did it.
100%.
Was, being out there in brutal nature and capturing it, no BS.
No.
Yeah.
Props to them. This movie. I mean,
props to them.
They did it. They did the damn thing. That's an accomplishment. Truly. Something cool too is just like, this kind of ties into the camera work and how they use long shots to just immerse you in the world, so you really believe and you can really feel the brutality of it, because it's not cutting away or using different shots to show you different things. It's all long takes, so you really see what's happening. You feel like you're almost there with them. And so, but it's cool here because it's a one take or a long shot, a lot of long shots. They obviously hide cuts, and they do cut a little bit in the fight scene in the beginning of the movie whenever they get attacked by the Ree Indians. And so through the one take though, it almost shows you the ebbs and flows of battle, of how sometimes the trappers get on top, sometimes the Indians get on top, and just showing you like the ebbs and flows of battle.
Yeah.
Because it changes perspectives a few times through this fight.
God.
So that like pan up, it's showing you Hugh Glass who's fighting, and then it pans up to show you just the Indian who's now in control, winning the situation. And then it cuts down to Hugh Glass who's just like doing everything he possibly can to survive, and then he gets saved by his teammate there.
Well, because you're thinking that he's going to be this badass protagonist based on the first Indian that he takes down just so swiftly.
Yeah.
Just dodges it. He dodges that first blow and then, hits him twice with his gun and then is still kind of leading the charge.
Yep.
And then that second Indian comes and you're probably, or at least for me, I'm thinking, oh, he's about to take this guy down too. And so when he goes down, you're just like, oh, wow. You really don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Is he really is he about to get injured badly?
Right.
You just don't know how this battle is really going to go.
Because showing him you're right. Because showing him get beat, you're like, oh shit, like this isn't fair. This is a ruthless fight.
Yeah.
This isn't a fun story.
Yeah. But he is smart.
Yeah, he knows the land. He's like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, fucker.
Yeah. Which this guy, just kind of showing he doesn't know what to do in battle.
No.
He has no plan at all. So he sees an Indian that just got shot out of a tree, is probably dead. And
Move
he
on.
and he just goes, he's like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just start hitting this Indian.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Dude, the job's done.
Yeah, so this guy gets killed, and then it switches point of view now to the Indian, where now you're seeing the Indians are in control of this battle.
Yeah.
Now. Like they're obviously winning by a landslide. Then he gets shot. Still showing him surviving, the Indian guy, off his horse, crawling on the ground. And then back to Fitzgerald, where now the survival's back. Like, let's go. Like, we can still make it. Like, let's try to get out of it. So they changed the perspective a few times to show you that ebbs and flow of the battle, how the Indians are taking over, but then you get to see how the trappers are able to survive and get through it. So it's just really cool how they take that long shot to immerse you in it, but still change point of view to show you the ebbs and flows of that battle. You win sometimes, you lose sometimes, but you're still trying to get to that boat safely, hopefully.
Something I read on this is like this battle scene was only supposed to be like 30 people max, and it ended up being over 200.
Damn.
Yeah.
Why did it go up?
I think just for, how badass we're seeing it on the big screen.
So if we're going to do it, let's fucking do it.
Yeah. And so, okay, think about at the beginning of this scene, you see the naked man walking up because he's just been killed by the Indians.
Yeah.
Like that was a volunteer extra. He was like 22 years old. And the director actually was dragging his naked body around.
Oh my God.
And they had to keep asking him hey, is this okay? Seriously, do you want us to do it? Because this isn't really in the script.
Yeah.
And he was like, do it. Put me in.
Oh yeah, I want my glam shot
For
and
sure.
my dick cut off.
For sure. But it definitely adds value to how brutal this was and how getting attacked by a group of Indians was no fun.
Well, getting introduced to the battle with the guy with his dick chopped off falling to the ground, you're like, oh shit, what's about to happen? And then you see how ruthless these Indians can be as you watch the battle.
It's scary. This is a really great way of showing how this went.
Yeah.
When the white man came
Yeah.
and didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden this happened, you just hear, la, 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 and then you just see a white guy walk up with his dick chopped off and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, dude. You don't know what kind of brutality these dudes got.
Dude, yeah. But
yeah, dude, beautiful movie. Great movie.
beautiful movie. Like I said, cannot understand for the life of me what I did not like about it the first time I saw it. Because now I'm obsessed with it.
It's so good.
It's so good. So good.
Oscar worthy for Leo for damn sure. I think it won 4 awards.
It had, I was about to say, it's not just, Leo wasn't the only one that walked away. Actually, the cinematographer of this movie, this was his 3rd time winning an Oscar in a row.
Oh shit.
He's the only cinematographer that's ever done that. He might be the only person in Oscar history that has won the award 3 times in a row.
What
He won.
So he won this
He won
movie
Best Cinematography for Birdman.
Okay.
I can't remember what the first one was.
for The Revenant, he won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, and Best Actor for DiCaprio.
Oh, it did win Best Picture.
Yep.
I mean, good.
Oh, sorry. Wait. Received 12 nominations. I wish
Oh.
they would tell you what they've won. Sorry. That's
It for sure won Best Cinematography, which just makes sense.
yeah. Let's see. Academy Awards. So it won Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Cinematography. Didn't win Best
Nice.
Picture. Best
Oh.
Picture.
Tom Hardy was nominated.
Yeah, didn't win.
Yeah.
So let's see what Alejandro got. So he won 3 in 2015, and then he won Best Director. So he won Best Director for The Revenant,
And he was nominated
2016.
for, yeah.
and he won Best Picture, Director, and Original Screenplay for Birdman, and he's
Yeah.
nominated for Babel. So I guess he only won 2 years in a row.
Yeah, but the cinematographer, that was his.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said the director.
No. The cinematographer, he won that award 3 years in a row.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry, I was confused.
Yeah.
Damn, props to that guy.
Or maybe, I mean, was it 3 years in a row? He was nominated for the award of Best Cinematography, and he won it every time he was nominated.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he won it 3 times in a row. Yeah.
I mean, this is a very unique way to shoot the movie. Like, not many movies are shot like this. So he is definitely he's creative in what he does. He changes his style to fit
it's
the
just,
picture.
I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, everybody, this was a very hyped up movie. I think mainly because Leo is attached to it. Or honestly, the director too. I mean, he won Academy Award for Birdman and Best Everything and Best Picture. And so, like, this was a very hyped up movie. And then on top of the fact that you hear how it went conditions wise and like just the brutality of making it, imagine them coming back and not walking away with anything.
Right. And also, it's pretty props to going through all that struggle and suffering and still managing to keep your passion and make the project as successful as it was and as on theme and well made as it was. So, I mean, that has to be some type of consideration for the voters of the award to be like, hey, you guys went through hell and you also made a great movie. Props to you.
Yeah.
Award.
Yeah. I'm thankful for The Revenant.
Me too. Good movie. Good movie. All
Yeah.
right. Got any final thoughts? Oh, wait. What do you rate it?
9.5.
Okay.
And the only thing I really have to complain about is, I mean, it's just sometimes hard to hear and understand what the characters are saying.
Yeah.
Like that's really my only complaint. But
That's
you get an understanding of what's being said.
Yeah.
So like it's very easy to keep up with this movie. There's just some scenes where it's like
Tom Hardy's
that's
just
kind of Tom Hardy
talking with shit in his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 for
5 stars.
enjoyability. Like
Boom.
I love this movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stop giving so many 10s, even though I think it's probably a 10er. I also think I'm gonna debut maybe in the next couple episodes a new scoring system for us.
Okay.
Because like maybe what we should do is where it's like we have like 5 topics like acting, story, as in like the writing, the cinematography, and enjoyability, or some type of like categories where we rate those out of 10, and then that becomes our score. So now we can like more accurately give a score to a movie. So like if we think the acting sucks but everything else is great, then that affects the score down. So we're not just like guessing, I feel like it's a 9.5 or I feel like it's 9. Now we can actually just like pick all these categories, give it out of 10, and then have that average rating come out, and that's like our rating of the movie.
We should get whiteboards and break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do it before the episode so we don't got to spend time thinking about it.
Yeah.
But like then we reveal it. I think I'm start doing that. I think that's probably the best way to rate them.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more accurate.
We're trying our best here, guys.
We improve every episode.
That's right.
We figure out new things every couple of weeks, but no, I give it so I'm gonna go 9.52 out of 10 for filmmaking. I think it should. I mean, there's been nothing wrong with it. It's a great movie. Everything I explained is why I think it's so good.
Yeah.
And then obviously 5, so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like I feel like with all these great movies we've been doing in a row, we keep giving it the same rating, so our ratings is like pointless.
Yeah.
If I love the movie, I keep giving it 10s, and it's like, what's the point of even giving a rating if I'm always if we're picking great movies and we're gonna rate them high, then what the fucking point is of rating it? So having a more structured rating system will make the ratings, I think, more useful.
Yeah.
Or at least worthwhile.
I don't know. I mean, I think moving forward, like going into like after this episode, we're gonna start doing some more exploring, like I'm not going to say the names of the movies, but we're not just going to pick out movies that we love. We're
Yeah.
going to start picking out movies that people have been asking us to do, or current movies that people are just talking about.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we both chose The Revenant because we love The Revenant.
Yep.
We just wanted to break it down for everybody. But yeah, I think moving forward right now, it's good to have a better rating system.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we're not picking movies for a little bit that we just love.
Probably after next episode, because we got Godfather 3 coming out to finish up that trilogy. So probably
Uh-huh.
after that, we'll change the rating system.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to change mid-trilogy the
Yeah.
rating system.
Yeah.
But yeah, great movie. All right, final thoughts?
It's a good thing we gave Leo an Academy Award for this one. I think he would have killed himself.
Yeah, dude.
Or at least I wouldn't have blamed him for just ending it all for the sake of burning down Hollywood. So shout out to the Academy.
Yeah, being snubbed for so many amazing roles and then you don't get one for this insane role.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah. So good job on the Academy for ending that BS
Yeah.
cold streak.
Yeah. All right, my final thought is we actually learned a new thing about the movie. There's a cool tie-in between this and Inglourious Basterds. Between The Revenant and Inglourious Basterds. Jim Bridger, who is a real mountain man in real life, in Inglourious Basterds, you hear Lieutenant Aldo Raine say that he's a direct descendant of Jim Bridger, the mountain man. So he has a little engine in me. Because Jim Bridger, through his real life, had, I think, 4 different Indian wives through his life. And so, fictional world of Tarantino, Aldo Raine is one of those direct descendants of one of those Indian wives. And so that's why he is called Out of the Apache, and that's why he's scalping all the Indians, is because he just feels connected to his ancestry of Jim Bridger and all the Indians he was around as he grew up in Aldo Raine's fictional life. And it's also what's even cooler about that, going a deeper level, is that Jim Bridger was known for a lot of tall tales. So he would always tell stories about his travel when he would go explore the mountains, and sometimes they were a little bit exaggerated where they weren't really truthful, but he would just make these really cool stories that people loved to hear. And so we got connected to tall tales, so much so that people that would hear cool stories, they would just tie it back to Jim Bridger, even though there was no connection to him, because they just believed that it was probably a Jim Bridger story, because he just had so many of these great stories.
Yeah.
And so that kind of ties in back to Aldo Raine's character, because one of the biggest things that the Bastards do in Inglourious Basterds is their tactic to scare and to beat the Nazis is to tell them stories about themselves. And they want them to be in their dreams of their, in the Nazis' dreams, they want their nightmares to be of them killing them and coming after them. And so the Bastards have these tall tales too about the Bear Jew, who's a golem, right?
Yeah.
The Nazis believe he's a golem. They have all these stories about each of these bastards, which scare the Nazis into being, so fearful of who these guys are that are coming after them. And so that even connects closer to Jim Bridger, because he was a tall tale man, and Aldo Raine takes that heritage further in his ascent to becoming a legendary man in the world. And so that's just a cool connection between a real life character and then a fictional character.
Well,
in
and
Aldo Raine.
it would not surprise me in the slightest. Like Quentin Tarantino has heard of the Hugh Glass or Jim Bridger story. Like he knows who these people are.
I mean, Jim Bridger is so famous.
Yeah.
He has there's so many things named after him.
Yeah, you can't just give Brad Pitt's character a line like that unless people know who he's talking about. Like in a huge monologue like that, to just throw a name out like that, it would make no sense if nobody understands who he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a direct descendant of Jim Bridger, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool connection. Shout out to our friends from Common Entertainment for giving us that one. They DM'd us and let us know that little Easter egg in them. So pretty cool fact.
Thank y'all very much for that one.
Even though it's not confirmed that Jim Bridger was involved in the story. In the real story, I think it's they call the guy Bridges, right? It's not Bridger, they call him Bridges.
Yeah, it was his nickname. It just makes the most sense on top of what you're saying, that he's already done so much crazy shit. Like he's linked to so many crazy stories.
Yeah.
That it would just make sense. Like, oh, there's a guy named Bridges. Bridger used to be on the same company.
Yep.
So it's probably Bridges that had this type of interaction with Hugh Glass.
Because it is a fact that Hugh Glass and Jim Bridger worked together, but it's not confirmed whether or not Jim Bridger worked with Hugh Glass when he had that bear attack.
Yeah.
That's what they're not sure about. But what they are sure about is that Fitzgerald was there, and also a guy nicknamed Bridges,
Yeah.
who they assume is Jim Bridger,
Yeah.
who if you're going to stay back in the mountains, I'm pretty sure Jim Bridger would be comfortable to do it.
Yeah.
Even though he's a young man, 19 years old, hasn't really became the mountain man yet. He still obviously has some inept ability to, traverse the landscape of these rocky mountains.
Yeah.
So I believe it was Jim Bridger.
I mean, yeah, I'm just going to.
I'll accept
Well,
it.
yeah. I mean, what are the odds of anybody else getting the nickname Bridges?
That's the thing. Yeah. It's like, you mean you gave some guy a nickname Bridges who's also got Jim Bridger?
Yeah. Talk about just bad communicating.
Yeah.
Like people will just get really confused and battle
Yeah.
if you have Bridges and Bridger.
Plus,
They're
back then
different
you had to be
people.
so accurate with facts and naming because you were just writing things
Yeah.
and there's a lot of lost context. So to get things right, you had to be very specific.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it probably was old Jim Bridger. Even though I did read that Jim Bridger denied involvement, but he also could do that because he doesn't want to admit that he left a guy for dead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it makes sense.
wait, did you say that Hugh Glass just forgave Bridges in real life?
He did.
Wait,
Yeah.
did he meet him?
Yeah. He tracked him down, met him at a camp. I mean, he was
Was
looking for
it Jim
fish.
Bridger? Did Hugh Glass say he met Jim Bridger?
Oh, no. It was Bridges.
So he just named him as Bridges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it wasn't confirmed that it was Jim Bridger. Because if that was confirmed, then all of this is
Yeah.
confirmed that it's Jim
Right.
Bridger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Comment below your thoughts on The Revenant. Let us know what you love from the movie. Let us know what we missed. Let us know if you learned anything cool from the movie. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see y'all next week. We are out.
Well, I've been working like a dog trying to buy my next meal. Seems all I do is drive. And when the boss man sends my next check in the mail, I'll have enough for closing time. And I've been cussing like a sailor since I ran out of weed. My tank is